بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful.
ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم.
The mutual rivalry for the piling up the good things of this world diverts you from the more serious things until you visit the graves. But no, you shall soon come to know the reality. Again, you shall soon come to know the reality. No, were you to understand with certainty of mind, you would beware. Indeed, you shall certainly see hellfire. Again, you shall see it with certainty of sight. On that day, you shall be questioned about the joy ye indulged in.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من سمت نجا. He who remains silent is successful.
Broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is Salam Radio.
Globally local on 106.2 FM. Your city, your world, and your chance to make a difference.
Yes, welcome to the show. I'm Joe Hosted, and as always, we'll be discussing local approaches to global issues. We do try when possible to focus on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, 17 ambitious goals that set out to bring an end to poverty, reduce world hunger, address inequality, combat climate change, and ultimately leave no one behind. It's the second week of 2020. What's your New Year's resolution? Is it to get fit, kick an old habit, or even to reach out and help those in need? Today, with the theme Good Health and Wellbeing, part 1 of the show will be discussing children and young people with brain tumours, and part 2 of the show will be exploring substance abuse. The time is 11:01, and we'd love to hear from you today, so if you have any comments or questions, then you can reach us on WhatsApp 07745 278 978 or Facebook Salam Radio. The third of the Sustainable Development Goals is Good Health and Wellbeing. This goal for worldwide good health promotes healthy lifestyles, preventative measures and modern, efficient healthcare for everyone. Target 3.2 of this goal is to end preventable deaths under 5 years of age. Brain tumours are the most common tumours that develop in children, and children of any age may be affected. Around 400 children in the UK develop brain tumours each year, but more children than ever are surviving childhood cancer. There are new and better drugs and treatment, and we can now also work to reduce the after effects of having had cancer in the past. It is devastating to hear your child has cancer, and at times it can feel overwhelming, but there are many healthcare professionals and support organisations to help you through this difficult time. Joining me in the studio for the first half of the show is Carol Hughes, founder of Anna's Hope, the leading children's brain tumour charity in the east of England. Thank you for joining us today, Carol.
Good morning.
So you founded Anna's Hope following the loss of your girl in the mid-2000s?
Yeah, we lost Anna she was 3 years, 8 months in 2005. Yeah, Anna was a gift that I've got another daughter. She was 13 at the time, and I was told after having Sarah I probably wouldn't have any more children.
Right.
And at the grand age of 40, 13 years later, having got the chocolate Labrador dog, thinking that, well, this is it, this is the family, I gave birth to a little girl with 12 weeks. I basically knew I was pregnant for 12 weeks. She was an absolute miracle, and I realise even bigger miracle now. And I used to look at her thinking, I can't believe you're mine. And then at the grand age of 2.5, she developed what we found out was a brain tumour. I went 5 times to the doctors. I'm telling you all this for a reason, because brain tumours are now the biggest cancer killer of children and young people in this country now. And I didn't know what a brain tumour was. I went along to the doctor because she was being sick. She said she was dizzy, although I was told by the doctor at 2.5, you don't know what dizzy is, but she did. She was holding her urine from 6 o'clock at night till like 1:30 the next day, and then flooding the carpet. She walked as if she was drunk, and this all the symptoms came out in a week. And I thought, she's got a middle ear infection. So I went 5 times to the doctors, each time coming home, everything's okay, you're just an elderly mother. I wasn't elderly, I was only 40, but, the doctors knew best, and at that time I thought they did. But actual fact, just remember, as a mother, you know what's wrong with your child, you know there's something wrong, and you keep going and persevering. And we went, eventually, they got the message, and I went in and thought, we'll do a scan on her. And they came back and went, actually, she hasn't got a middle ear infection, as you're persistently saying. Did you realise she had a brain abnormality? And I said, a brain abnormality? What do you mean? And I said, do you mean a brain tumour? And they said, well, we don't know, but you're going to have to be blue lighted to Addenbrooke's. And so from a middle ear infection to a brain tumour, so eventually we got taken to Addenbrooke's, and we went onto the ward, and I was taken to a ward where there was some children that had no hair. And I thought, well, we're on the wrong ward here, we're on a cancer ward. And I said, excuse me, I think we're on the wrong ward. And she said, no, well, all these children have got cancer. And I thought, we haven't got cancer, we've got a brain abnormality, it could be a brain tumour. I didn't know it was a cancerous brain tumour. Anyway, after spending a month in there, they did an operation, an 8.5-hour operation to remove the brain tumour. And I remember coming out of the theatre and the anaesthetist in tears saying, it's the size of a peach, and it's working its way down her spine, and she's got like a 10% chance of living, basically. And for a parent to be told that is just unbelievable. To say we've been to hell and back again is an understatement. Whether a tumour is cancerous or not, it's still bad, because non-cancerous ones can still become cancerous. Right. And as I say, we hoped and prayed that she was going to be one of the lucky ones. And we spent 15.5 months in Addenbrooke's, having chemo every other week. And with the brain tumour, there's 2 things: you can either live or you die, and so they go for it. And so the chemotherapy they give a child with a brain tumour is 3.5 times the strength that any other cancer for any adult they would go for, just to get it and blow it, basically. Whilst we were in there, we realised that we were going to have to do something, whether Anna lived or she died, because when she came out from her operation, she couldn't swallow, and there was nobody in that massive hospital who could help her, even in the adult section. And we vowed we were going to have to do something. So my husband gave up his job. And we said we'd give back in a different way, and we set up Anna's Hope. As I say, we hoped that she'd be one of the lucky ones, but she wasn't. At that time, 13 years ago, we set it up. There was only one specialist nurse. It's not a nurse to give injections, it's an outreach paediatric nurse for over 300 children in the region, which was just impossible. So we actually funded another one of those in the first place, and then she was taken on by the hospital. When we set up the charity, I used to say I'm just a mum, but I don't say that anymore, because actually being a mum is a very, very important job. And what I meant was I'm not from the corporate world, and I didn't know how to rub 2 pennies together. But as a mum, I'm very passionate about what I believe in, and I believe in doing the right thing. And if your family's been touched by a brain tumour, don't you know it doesn't just affect the child, it affects the whole family. So what we do is we help on diagnosis, during treatment and beyond, because if the child is lucky enough to survive, every case is different. Their lives can be severely compromised. And there's been until Anna's Hope came along, there's been no dedicated rehabilitation service in this country at all. We're very different to any other charity. We are local for a start off, but we're doing the work of a national charity. I don't take any wage at all. Nobody does. It's my husband and I, and a few volunteers.
Wow.
And I have a split personality.
Right.
Well, as you've seen, Joe, I actually dress as a fairy.
Yeah.
But hey, the brand has really worked. Anybody in our local area now, when they see a fairy, they say Anna's Hope, which is brilliant. But we're doing really, really good work. And what we're doing now, since the nurse was funded and taken on by the hospital, we thought, right, where do we go now? So we've set up a service, which we have called Brainbow. It's the first of its kind in the country. And we've got physios, occupational therapists, and speech and language as well.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think we'll come on to that a bit later on.
Yeah, sorry.
I just want to ask you, have you any idea why they were so insistent on it being an ear infection or so?
No, that was me.
Oh, right.
That was me being the doctor.
Right, okay.
Because I'm thinking, well, she was a bit wobbly on her feet. She was like she was drunk.
Right,
so
okay.
that's your balance going off, you see.
Yeah.
But you see, the tumour, now I know, could be anywhere in the head. There are some children that have tumours behind their eyes, so that affects their sight.
Okay.
There's over 300 or 400 types of brain tumour.
Yeah.
And as you say, some are malignant and some aren't. But in fact, at the pantomime the other day, one of the girls came up to me and she said, I'm really interested in your work. What you don't know is I had a brain tumour 3 years ago. Now, I couldn't really tell until then. She said, I then focused in on speaking to her and I could tell.
Wow.
But I didn't know. And she said, I'm really interested in your work.
Yeah.
This is what I had. She was the lucky one to survive, because they're not just on the increase in children, they're on the increase in adults as well.
Okay.
And what we've done is we've made Addenbrooke's the centre of excellence for the whole country for brain tumours. And, we are really making a difference. Anna's Hope's not just helping the here and now, but we're influencing the future as well.
So is it an increase in tumours or is it an increase in diagnosis of the tumours?
There are an increase in the tumours. We don't know why. I will find out when I get up into heaven.
Yeah.
I have been to loads of brain tumour conferences. I'm very much into that world as well, because as a mum, I want to know, because, at first you blame yourself. What was I doing? Yeah, I used to breastfeed Anna and thinking I used to be on my phone at the time. Was it that? But it's not. There's loads of children that have fallen and banged their head. Did she bang her head? I don't think she did. As a mother, I always look thinking it was my fault. It wasn't my fault at all. And she wasn't even born with it. So please don't think, my child's born with it. They're just appearing.
Right.
Not to frighten anybody, if you're listening, in Peterborough 2 years ago, there were 2 brain tumours in one school.
Right.
Which is quite frightening, really. But they come in clusters. So please, out there, if you're listening, don't think, oh, my child's got a brain tumour. But there are lots of doctors that haven't even seen a brain tumour yet.
Okay.
So you really need to be persistent. I don't want to frighten anybody, but, you need to be persistent as a mother. Keep going back and going back. Because as a mother, when there's something not right with your child.
Yes. Good. And it can get missed.
Yes.
So what I'd like to do now is run through the 4 main aims that your organisation has.
The 4 main aims, right? What are they? I'm
aims.
doing them all the time.
The first one, I believe, is to help children and their families during cancer treatment.
Yeah. So the actual therapists they're known as the Anna's Hope therapy team. They meet the children once they go into the hospital. So when I went onto that ward, I actually went the whole weekend without actually seeing anybody.
Yeah, this is at Addenbrooke.
At Addenbrooke, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
So we go onto the ward, you get assessed, because the sooner that we can work out how the child is normally, because if you're looking to survive, you may not be the same person again, regardless. And so if the therapist can work out what sort of person you are, what your mood is, your temperament and everything like that beforehand, and what you could do before and what you can't, do at the moment.
Yeah.
So by talking to you, so getting to know the patient really.
Wow.
Yeah. So do that, and then you go through the treatment. Obviously, if the brain tumour needs to come out, because some of them, don't need to come out, they keep and monitor them. It depends on the tumour. They get a scan, they get an MRI scan, and so they're with them all the time. They're holding their hand the whole way along.
Yeah.
So once they've had the operation, so Anna, when she came from her operation, she couldn't swallow. Now, you know, telling your child that, you know, you're going to be okay, you're going to be put to sleep, and at the time the doctor was Helen's going to take this lump out of your head. She was only 2.5 years old. She's going to take the lump out of your head and you're going to be fine. Well, I was lying, wasn't I? Because when she came around, you know, woke up, she couldn't see because there'd been tampering in her brain, all the nerves and everything. So she could see, her sight was fine, but it was all double vision and everything. We had to get that back. She couldn't walk. We had to get that sorted, and she couldn't swallow. And so we spent months of rehab, and that's what we're doing. Anna's hope is forming the rehabilitation to try and get that child back to living the best potential they can in life, like any other child.
And I imagine that's the thing with anything with the brain, is that it can affect any part of your body, can't it?
Yeah.
It's just touching on all those nerves.
But the final straw for me is when they said to me, we need to, you know, see how our vocal cords are working. Well, I'm thinking, okay, what do you do? Well, without anaesthetic, they got me to hold her down. Well, they stuck a camera down her throat. And that was the finishing thing. And that's it. I vowed we were going to have to do something then and there. And I became like this woman possessed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but look at all the good that's come of it.
Yeah.
So the second thing is to help through specialist neurorehabilitation, which you've just mentioned, haven't you?
Yeah. And so, as I say, Anna couldn't swallow. We had to she had to be taught how to swallow custard. That's how they started with first.
Wow.
And she used to, because she was on chemo, the chemo used to make you hungry as well. It was really, really difficult. And again, there was just nobody out there. There was nobody in the hospital at all could help her. And so we've sought all these people. I've even been involved with the interviews, which is, you know, fabulous. So we've got a really good, healthy team. And as I say, they're passionate people. I've you know, the hospital did the doctor bit, and I did the other bit.
Which is equally as important.
Absolutely, because, you know, one thing, Anna taught us a lot of wisdom whilst in her very short space of life, and we had to be upbeat every single day, even though we were screaming inside. And one of us used to sleep there of an evening, and the other one went home. And going on that A14 at 11 o'clock at night was just no joke, and then had to be up again for 6 in the morning, and we used to go and take over. But we had to keep her upbeat the whole time, because this experience that she was going through was just unbelievable. She had a nose tube in, and people think, oh, a nose tube. Well, for a child, that was... Rather having the brain tumour, she was more frightened about having the tube put down her throat. The trauma we watched our daughter go through was just unbearable.
Oh, okay. So then the third thing is helping through happy memories.
Yeah.
Which is, I imagine, so I met you, Carol, at the Peterborough New Theatre by accident. I was working there, and you were obviously raising some funds.
Yeah.
Is the New Theatre one of the organisations that you're connected with to help create these memories?
Well, yes. So my motto is to have fun.
Yeah. And
that way we get, you know, funds in. People want to have fun, and it just happens naturally. You know, we actually have £200,000 a year that we've got to raise to keep the service going. But I can't look at it like that, because I'm not from the corporate world, so I just have the fun. But don't get me wrong, I'm screaming inside the whole time. But yes, we're at the New Theatre, as you said, at Christmas with the Wizard of Oz, and I've met lots of new friends. But equally, I've got other people out there that are ladies that are just having coffee mornings, but having coffee mornings, having fun with cake, and they're raising some funds. With our charity, every single penny counts. Every single penny. You know, people were saying, "Oh, we've only got this." Thank you. That's a penny that I don't have. And every penny makes a pound. £30 will help a child to rehabilitate for 1 week. And so if anybody out there would like to help us, then, you know, that would be great. So I also come along and, like, if you like, grant the wishes for the children. I don't have a lot of money, and I have to rely on sponsors, you know, some of the time as well. But for a child with a brain tumour, of course they want to go to Disney, but they can't cope with it. And I will tell you some stories, you know, shortly about the different people. They can't cope, but they get very tired very quickly. So there's one young girl, well, you found the leaflet here, as you can see. She liked aeroplanes, and so did a little boy. So I took them along to RAF Wittering, and they spent the whole day there, and we were there guiding the aeroplanes in. And One little boy had a seizure whilst he was there. He had 300 seizures a day, which made him really tired. He has a little helmet on. But he came round and he said he just plucked up the energy to be able to say thank you. And it's stories like that that fire me on to do more. And his wish was he wanted to, spend the day and fly an aeroplane. And he went up in an aeroplane. It was just absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And, he is going, sadly, he's still here, but he was in hospital with Anna, but his brain tumour's slowly taking him.
Right. Okay. But it's fantastic that you managed to create these opportunities.
Absolutely.
Unique opportunities per child as well. Yeah. It's fantastic.
No, it is. So, that's what we do.
Yeah. And the fourth thing I've got here then is helping through family support groups.
Yeah. So it's a very frightening thing, having a brain tumour. It's like a club, if you like. Nobody really wants to be part of this club, as it were, but they're all together. And we've had Christmas parties, we've had Easter parties as well, and the children and the parents are meeting other children and parents. And the two little boys at the moment, that's making me smile because I can see them interacting. They're friends now with us on Facebook. But I could see them interacting together, and one wouldn't go to something because the other one wasn't going. And, they can compare stories and things like that because every story is unique.
Yes. There's no normal, is there?
There isn't a normal.
There's no normal in this whole area.
No.
So each story that they share, all the information that they share will be unique. Yeah.
And it's like living in a bubble. I don't know for you listeners out there, in life, nobody's got the perfect life. I know that. But when you've been stuck in these situations, it's like living in a bubble. If you look outside, you think that person across the road, well, they've got a normal life. They're just going to Sainsbury's or whatever to buy some shopping. But you don't know all the trouble that I've got to do to get out to go to Sainsbury's, and it's quite traumatic. But all these children are all happy because we've all made them happy. The parents are doing, and if we can just help the parents to help the child, that's really good.
Yeah.
But would you like me to tell some stories of some? Have we got time?
Yes, I think we have. Let's have a story. Yeah.
Okay. So where there is life, there's hope. So there's one little girl, she's from our church, and she was diagnosed with her brain tumour when she was 5 weeks old, and she'd been in hospital for nearly a year, and she slept with an Anna's Hope fairy badge above her cot, and I'd like to think it was that, but I think it was the power of God. And at 14 months, she was told there was basically nothing else they could do for her. The thing is, with the brain tumour, or if you've got cancer of the knee, it's cancer of the knee. If you've got brain tumour, it affects the whole body. And you forget that, and I forgot as well, that Anna was growing throughout this time. So you're not all, just a Joe.
Yeah.
You're an Anna, but you're a baby and you're growing into this little girl, so you're going through all these things. And at 14 months old, they said, I'm sorry, but there's just nothing else we can do. And they'd been under clinicians in America and goodness knows where to see if there was anything out there they could help with, but there was nothing. So they brought her home and prepared for the worst. And however, 3 weeks later, all of a sudden, something happened. And she decided that she was going to get up out of bed. She couldn't swallow or eat before, but all of a sudden she was eating. And then she decided she was going to climb, so she climbed onto the cooker. And then she was running around the church.
Wow.
And she's still here now, and she's 2.5. She still has her brain tumour. It's not malignant. It's still there, and as it was, basically. And she is one little miracle, because even her mum can't believe she's just started nursery. And so what I want to say to your parents out there, where there is life, there is hope. Whatever a disease or whatever you get, where there is life, there's hope, and never, ever give up on your child. There's another young man as well. He lives in Norfolk. He was 14 when I met him. He was 4 when he had his brain tumour. Had I not met him that day, he wouldn't be where he is now. He hadn't been out of bed at all until until I met him. He couldn't get out of bed. He couldn't put clothes on. He couldn't go down and make some breakfast by himself. I'm talking about put some clothes on, go and have a KFC, as he said, and count some money out, and go to school. I said, I think you've got your priorities wrong. He went, no, I haven't. Anyway, so we got the team working with him, and within 3.5 months. He was at school, all right. He went to his school prom. He got sticky up hair like any other 16-year-old, like he's 16 now. He's been to his school prom, and he's living the life the best he can to his best potential with his friends. That's just where he's being.
Right.
Until Anna's Hope came along, there was no dedicated rehabilitation service in this country at all, and we're helping hundreds of children now. We're even going back into the old records and inviting them to see where we can help. As I say, we've lobbied the government as well. I've been down into Parliament. We got behind an e-petition of 140,000 signatures for the government to release more money into health service. And they finally get it. Very sadly, it's helped with Tessa Jowl just passing away from a brain tumour. But our work has gone down in the Hansard. I don't know, you know, but that's the Bible of the Parliament.
Right.
And before Theresa May left in the summer, there I was watching Prime Minister's Question Time, as you do over lunchtime. And I choked on my sandwich because she actually mentioned Anna's Hope as work. And for a little local charity, as Anna's mum, I was really proud.
Yes, great. Well, it's you know, it's a regional charity, isn't it? It's the East of England.
It's the East of England. We're a local charity. I'm based in Stamford.
Yeah.
And we're helping any child across the whole of the East of England that's been touched by a brain tumour.
Yeah. One other aim of yours I've got down is to raise awareness and to help find a cure.
That's what we've been doing in Parliament.
So, are we any closer to a cure? I imagine with advances in technology, we must have come a lot further than obviously 15 years ago.
Yeah. So, as I say, we lobbied together and formed a bigger brain tumour charity called Brain Tumour Research. And, you know, as I say, there was less than 1% by cancer research going into brain tumours. And so we've got 5 centres now with brain tumour research across they're doing research all the time. The question is, I can't answer that total question because there are about 300 brain tumours out there. So while I might find a cure for one particular one, there might not be.
Okay.
There are you can have proton therapy now, which is instead of radiotherapy. It's supposed to be more effective, but it's effective in as much it goes straight to the point. Whereas radiotherapy eradicates everything around, shall we say, but it is not proven to give you a better life at all. It was brought out just after Anna died, and you know, I just thought if Anna could have had those protons, it has helped some children, but it doesn't mean to say they're going to live in a longer life.
Sure. So one way that we can help is the Great Eastern Run. Is that right? Do you have involvement with the
absolutely
fun run?
Yes. I'm an ambassador for the whole of the Perkins Great Eastern Run, and the fun run was named in Anna's memory. And we're looking for people to join us fairies, and you men out there as well, if you're listening. You look great in a tutu, and believe it or not, you pull in more money.
Oh, brilliant.
And so, Joe, I hope you'll be back for that. It'd be great if you get a team together. But if you want to contact us, you can email me on admin@annashope.co.uk.
Sure.
Or we've got a website, www.annashope.co.uk.
Fantastic. Okay, well, thank you for joining us today, Carol. We'll be back after this.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
Where can you get high quality and low prices? Amar Food Store and Halal Meat in Lincoln Road, Triangle is the place to go. Pay us a visit and take advantage of our special offers and great range of products on groceries, vegetables, fruits and halal meat. Also send money to Pakistan absolutely free. We have all top brands at special offers, offer free customer parking and provide a free local delivery service. Amar Food Store and Halal Meat, 613B Lincoln Road, Peterborough. Call us on 01733 687 374. High in quality, low in prices.
Al Murad Tiles. With over 70 stores nationwide, we are now open in Peterborough. Up to 50% discount offers now on. Largest selection of tiles. Full bathroom suites from only £189. Paint, LED lighting, laminate flooring from only £7.99. Over 1,000 designs of wallpaper in stock. We have everything you need. Come and visit us at 193 Fengate, Peterborough, PE1 5BH. or call us on 01733 34 58 47. Almurad Tiles, now open.
Had a car accident or an accident at work? Accident specialists are experts in no-win, no-fee accident claims. Leave the hassle to us. Our multilingual settlement experts will manage the entire claims process on your behalf, with nothing to pay up front. We provide services such as credit hire, taxi vehicles, recovery, storage and much more. For full details on our range of services and a free consultation, call us on 01733 555 774 or visit our office at 249 Lincoln Road opposite the NatWest Bank. Accident Specialists. Start your successful claim today.
There's a million choices available for dining out in Leeds.
But if you want something special, there's only one name to remember.
Mumtaz Leeds.
Relax in our newly refurbished Riverside restaurant.
Enjoy exquisite home cooking from our brand new menu. Upgrade to the Mumtaz Leeds experience.
And the price? Well, we're better value than ever before.
Mumtaz Leeds, Chadwick Street, Leeds, LS10 1PJ. Call 0113 242 4211.
Free car parking available.
अगर मूड हो मुस्तनद और मायारी देसी खाने का तो आजमाएं लिंकन रोड पर देसी रेस्टोरेंट। दिन का आगाज देसी नाश्ते के साथ हलवा पूरी, चने, निहारी, पाए, पराठा और आमलेट। हर रोज सुबह 7 बजे से दिन 1 बजे तक। एक मजेदार और स्वादिष्ट लंच के लिए कबाब, सैंडविच, तंदूरी डिशेस, बल्ती डिशेस, बिरयानी और बहुत कुछ। दिन 1 बजे से शाम 5 बजे तक हमारी खास डिशेस, देसी तवा या हमारी ताज़ा हांडी, 1 kg बेबी चिकन, लैम का गोश्त हड्डी के साथ ऑर्डर पर तैयार कराएं। ईट इनसाइड, टेक वे के लिए फ्री डिलीवरी। पूरा मेन्यू देखने के लिए और ऑनलाइन ऑर्डर करने के लिए हमारी वेबसाइट पे जाएं desirestaurant.co.uk। 60 नशिस्तों की गुंजाइश के साथ और एक प्राइवेट फंक्शन रूम, कैटरिंग सर्विस भी दस्तयाब। डोंट फॉरगेट देसी रेस्टोरेंट, 298 लिंकन रोड, पीटरब्रो, PE1 2ND। कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर 555795।
Broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is Salam Radio.
Welcome back to the show Globally Local, where we explore ways in which we can create a better world for all life on Earth. We do try when possible to base our conversations around the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, 17 ambitious goals that set out to end poverty, reduce inequality and tackle climate change. I'm Joe Hosted, and for this second half of the show, with the theme Good Health and Wellbeing, we'll be discussing substance abuse. Remember, if you've any comments or questions during the show, then we'd love to hear from you. You can reach us on WhatsApp 07745 278 978 or Facebook Salam Radio. Good health and well-being is the third of the Sustainable Development Goals and aims to ensure healthy lives for all at all ages. Target 3.5 of this goal is to strengthen the prevention and treatment of substance abuse, including narcotic drug abuse and harmful use of alcohol. Substance abuse refers to the misuse of illegal and legal drugs, including alcohol, on a regular basis. It is something that can affect people from all backgrounds. It does not discriminate and can affect anyone, regardless of gender, age, race, education, wealth or religion. People abuse substances for many different reasons, and substance abuse can have a range of serious health and societal effects, the majority of which are very difficult to overcome. With me in the studio for the second half of the show is Neil Moore, Building Recovery in the Community Coordinator for CGL Aspire. Welcome, Neil.
Hi, thanks, Joe.
So, Building Recovery in the Community Coordinator, that's quite a title.
It is.
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit about what that means?
Yeah, it gets shortened to BRIC Coordinator. There's, I suppose, 3 main strands to my role. I am the service user lead, so I represent the service users within our service. I advocate for them, both in the service and in the wider community. I recruit and train peer mentors and volunteers. So peer mentors are service users who have lived experience of both addiction and recovery, and we recruit and train them to work in the service to help role model recovery, to show other people that it is possible to recover. And finally, sort of the BRIC aspect is that we work much more in the wider community now. I think drug services, going back, I started this line of work in the 1990s, and drug services were much more isolationist. We worked alone. We were very respectful of confidentiality. We didn't like to share information. And it didn't really work very well, in my opinion. And now we recognize that people use substances in their communities. Drug services are only open a limited amount of time. Recovery is 24/7, and we need to be out in the community, spreading the word about what we do, encouraging people into treatment, promoting the notion that recovery is not just possible but probable, because it is. We know most people do recover. But also we know that recovery is better done with people. Drugs and alcohol cause people to isolate themselves and to withdraw from community. That's what they do to you, and we try to challenge that. I think our old way of working was very much around working with individuals as individuals, one-to-one appointments, and again, I don't think it was effective. Now we encourage people into treatment, and most of our work is group work. We encourage people with lived experience to give that lived experience to other people to support them.
Lead by example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what we encourage. It works. I was just asked the question outside before I came in for the interview. Isn't it a bit soul destroying? You don't see people recover, and people are just on this cycle where they continually come back in. And that's not the case at all. We see people recover all the time. The madness of drug treatment in the 90s was, I think, drug services, once somebody became drug or alcohol free, they really weren't allowed to come to the service anymore. It was, your time's done. You've done, and they would be, out into the community on their own, with left to find their own way, to make their own way and find their own support networks. We don't do that now. We encourage people who have achieved what they wanted as far as their recovery, or as far as their substance use, to stick around if they want to motivate others, to encourage others, to help build networks into the community. The links between mutual aid groups like Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous and Cocaine Anonymous, and treatment organizations are much, much stronger now. Although those organizations are fiercely independent, and rightly so, we do much more joint working with them. We recognize that we are open a limited amount of hours. We need people to be doing recovery 24/7. It's a wholesale lifestyle change.
I would just ask you, if I can, to clarify the term narcotic.
Yeah, with regards to Narcotics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous are a mutual aid 12-step fellowship, and they, as are Alcoholics Anonymous, as are Cocaine Anonymous. Narcotics Anonymous are more open around the substance that people use. They're not as prescriptive.
What is narcotic drug? Just
as far as Narcotics Anonymous are concerned, it's any substance.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So. Some of we're talking about a vast range of substances. Are there top offenders? Heroin, cocaine. Are they more popular?
I think your opening intro was really accurate in that. I think the first thing we need to say is that every society that has ever existed has used substances to change the way that they feel.
Right.
That's what happens. Whether it be alcohol, whether it be drugs, people change the way that they feel. And they use substances to allow that to happen. So we don't too much talk about substance abuse. We talk about substance use.
Okay.
People use substances for reasons.
Yes.
Most people start using substances when they're quite young, and they start because it's around them, it's exciting. Their friends are doing it, their peers are doing it, they've seen adults doing it, and it's part of the rite of passage of growth, and they do it. And most people's first experiences of substance use are positive. We have to recognise that fact. If they weren't positive, most people wouldn't go back to it. They go back to it because they try it, they like it, so they do it again. Unfortunately, as you do something again, the body becomes used to it, and the body reacts to substance use, and the chemicals that are produced entirely naturally by our central nervous system adapt to allow for the chemicals that are being ingested by either drugs or alcohol. And so the central nervous system changes, basically. And over time, people who have been using drugs or alcohol to a significant level, their bodies will react differently. Their mental health will react differently. So actually their continuing drug use is a desire to remain the same. Often, people, nobody sets out to become addicted or dependent. We all know the concerns. We all know the possibility, but we don't think it will happen to us. And by the time people realize that it's out of control and that they can't control it anymore, it's often way down the road.
So substance use isn't addiction, but it often leads to addiction.
Absolutely.
And addiction itself is is it classed as a mental illness or something?
It's one of those things. I don't really go down, whether it's a mental illness. I don't think it is. Is it a mental condition? Is it a biological thing? Is it genetic? Lots of time and energy is spent on this debate, and for me, it's not really. I would rather deal with what people are doing. Their behaviours. People start using substances. Most people in society use substances at some point to, for various reasons. A cohort of those people then move on to use them in a more problematic way and have difficulty stopping. It's what we do with those people. Why some people, I think generally we all can use substances to help us cope with life. And sometimes, we know that lots of our service users have unresolved trauma. And for a brief period, the drugs and alcohol that they use help them to cope with those traumas that are going on in their life, whether that's bereavement, relationship breakup, childhood abuse, neglect, whatever it is. For a period, trauma is managed by drugs and alcohol use. But the reality is drugs and alcohol are not effective ways of managing trauma.
No.
I'm a big believer in talking therapies. That's how people resolve trauma. And sometimes trauma is never resolved, but that's how they deal with it and process it and begin to come to terms with the trauma that they've experienced. In the short term, drugs and alcohol can make it bearable and more tolerable. For me, lots of our service users, they look to substance use as a means of coping. We need to educate them to believe that there are alternative, better ways of coping that don't involve substance use. Hence, why we look to people who have lived experience of recovery to motivate and inspire. And, by the time people come to us, they've been using for a reasonable amount of time, normally several years, if not more. And there's a part of them that's beginning to doubt if they'll ever stop. Because we all know the stereotypes and the stigma that is attached in society to substance use. So that there's a part of them that's questioning whether I'll ever stop. I've tried lots of time. Nobody comes to us lightly. We all think we like to deal with our problems ourselves, keep it, private, not let everybody know. People come to us, by the time they come to us, they're desperate for change, but they don't think they can do it. So our job is to work with them, treat them compassionately, treat them better than they're used to being treated pretty badly. Because of their behaviours that they've developed over many years, they've driven people away. Their families they've driven away, their friends, people, we've already said they've isolated. So what we want to do is give them a community where they can come, where they'll be made welcome, where they'll be treated with compassion. so that we can make them feel that they're not worthless, because they're already, when they look in the mirror, they don't like themselves. They don't like what they see. They're feeling worthless. We need to convince them that they're not worthless, and we do that by showing them that they're not worthless, and helping them to help others. Helping others is a huge part of the work that we do. It's a huge part of recovery.
I just want to ask you that there are legal and there are illegal substances, both of which people become addicted to and abuse. Do you see a balance in, are the legal ones used more, or is the illegal? Because actually, things like prescription drugs, solvents, they're pretty easy to get hold of, and I imagine can be cheaper at times. Are people more likely to get addicted to those? Are they more accessible?
I think they're definitely more accessible. Solvents, I mean, I'm old enough. I remember the 90s. I was a worker then. We saw more, probably, this is entirely anecdotal, this isn't backed up by research or fact here, but from my anecdotal experience, we came across solvents more in those days. People on low budgets tended to go to them. They were readily available. You can buy from hardware stores and that kind of thing. Very little check. I would say a lot of that has been superseded by the growth of,
illegal drug industry.
Which are basically chemical compounds. Younger people now tending to shop on the internet and purchase, non-legal highs. They used to be called legal highs, but we call them NSPs. NPS, new psychoactive substances. Right. So using those, the difficulty is that with those is, the people taking them are really the guinea pigs for these substances. Most of the more established illegal drugs and legal drugs, if you're talking about alcohol, have been trialled over many, many years. We roughly know what they're going to do to people, and given the variances in purity, other than that factor, we know what they will do. Whereas some of the new substances, which can be purchased pretty cheaply off the internet, and with very, very little legal implication if you do so, that can be a real issue. We, at Change Grow Live, where I work, the charity, in Peterborough, we don't have huge amounts of people coming in yet with MPS, but I think that's just because it's quite early in that cycle. We will see it, undoubtedly. And also the issue of physical dependency isn't as established, because I think using those substances, they tend to chop and change substances and go for
Oh, really?
Yeah, it used to be very much more. People use depressant drugs like heroin, for a downer, or they'd use stimulant type drugs. Now, young people that I speak to, they vary. They'll use uppers, they'll use downers. They're not. It's just for a different buzz.
Right.
So I think that will have an implication long term. Certainly, it impacts the treatment that you can offer people.
Yeah.
Often, I think historically, again back to the 90s and early 2000s, drug services were primarily populated by longer-term opiate users.
Okay.
And that's changed now. We still have a sizable cohort of opiate-using clients, but it's an aging demographic, definitely. And we now have large numbers of people who are using other substances. And I think, I read a couple of months ago that the largest number of, the biggest demographic of people entering drug and alcohol treatment in the last year has been people between 40 and 50 who drink alcohol.
Oh, right.
So, yeah.
So is alcohol one of the biggest concerns? Is it one of the...
It's a huge concern. It's a legal substance, and I think that brings with it the message, whether it's subconscious or not, that, it's okay.
Yeah.
We at Change Grow Live, Aspire in Peterborough, we've been the alcohol service in Peterborough only for the last 3 years, and so my eyes have well and truly been opened around working with people who alcohol is their prime dependency, and just the impact that it has on people.
Well, it's so difficult to get away from in this country because it's part of the culture, isn't it?
Yeah. I had a career break for about 11 years where I bought a pub in London,
Right.
so I saw it from the other side as well, and saw the, I think back now to all of my best customers, some beautiful people that I met. Very few of them are alive now.
Right.
Most of them died
Yeah.
early, and that's the reality of regular alcohol use.
Just chips away at you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it pretty much impacts every part of your body. Certainly, our physically dependent alcohol users, are probably our highest risk cohort of clients.
Okay.
Because the physical, the risk of withdrawal from physical dependency of alcohol are extreme. You can die as a result of withdrawal from alcohol. If you're physically dependent, you can have seizures. So it's extremely high risk, and that's why, if somebody is physically dependent, i.e. drinking every day, and if they miss a day from drinking, they will be ill on that day.
Is that because their body's adapted?
They're physically dependent. Yeah, they need
Yeah.
it. They can have seizures, they can have fits
Wow.
as a result of the withdrawals. So for clients who come to us, we're a recovery service. So in that we say that we will work with clients where they are. We're not an abstinence-based service. If somebody says, look, I can't do abstinence, I want to work towards controlled usage, then that's what we'll go for. The one exception to that really is if someone's a physically dependent alcohol client, they have to do a detox.
Right.
Because the impact that alcohol has on them, drinking at those levels, is so extreme. So we will encourage our clients, prepare them, and then either refer them for inpatient detox, or we'll ask them to attend our 5-day detox that we do at our service here in Peterborough.
Okay. So does addiction always need to be professionally treated?
I think people do recover. Sometimes people recover on their own. I've had examples where people, I think in the very early days of me working in Peterborough, about 6 or 7 years ago, I had a client who was on quite a high dose of methadone, which was the substitute opiate substance, and I didn't see her for a month. She went away to spend time with family, came back and had completely detoxed of a really high dose, just had done it on her own. Now, she was in treatment, but I didn't contribute very much to that. She did it because she was ready and motivated, and as far as I'm aware, she's still drug-free now. So do people have to come into treatment? No, I think human being, I've never failed to be amazed with the capacity of human beings to achieve amazing things.
Oh, that's good to hear.
So no, but if and I do have family members who are substance users. If I had family members who are substance users, would I want them to be in treatment or do it on their own? I'd want them to go into treatment. For all the reasons I talked about before, about being around other people who are doing it, to get support. You're not on your own, build your self-esteem, build your confidence. I think you're more likely to succeed if you do it with other people. That's not to say people can't do it on their own.
Yeah.
And as I said, the mutual aid organisations like AA, like Narcotics Anonymous, like Cocaine Anonymous, like Smart Recovery, which is another mutual aid organisation. Mm-hmm. These organisations are all well established in this country now, and so you don't have to come into structured treatment with a recognised drug and alcohol service if you don't want to, but there is other ways of doing it.
Yeah.
But I would, if I was requiring treatment or a family member was requiring treatment, I'd want all the help I could get.
Yeah. And do you think it's fair to say that people who don't get professional treatment are more likely to relapse?
Probably, mm-hmm. I would say probably more likely to die.
Wow.
The reality is,
Okay.
And numbers of deaths in the country, this is nationwide, are at an all-time high around substance use and alcohol. We all hear about the horror stories up in Scotland where the death rates are phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so I think encouraging people into treatment is positive. That's why we're trying. That's why coming on a radio show like this is a good thing. We want to get the message out there that recovery is possible and probable, and we want we want to work with the whole community. You know, I generally, you know, I have two nephews who have issues of substance use. They don't live in Peterborough, they live elsewhere. But I see the impact that it's had on my family. You know, it's decimated their mum. It's decimated my mum, their grandmother. So in the old days, you know, we worked in isolation with just the drug user. We didn't locate them in the family at all. We didn't work with the family, you know, and it was nonsense and madness, really. Now we work with the family. I help facilitate a group at Change, Grow, Live, Aspire, called Butterflies, which is for the family and friends, carers, loved ones of substance users.
Oh, right.
It's a group, it takes place on a Wednesday evening at 5:00. And it's just to try and provide support and compassion and guidance to the families and friends. Often there's lots of anger when they first arrive. They don't understand, why can't they just stop? You know, if they loved me, they'd stop. You know, what is this substance that's got this hold over them? So there's lots of anger, there's lots of, we tend to get sort of, either people come who are either enablers, so they, as a way of thinking they're keeping their son or daughter or partner safe, they'll give them the money to carry on using the drugs, or at least they're not stealing, at least they're not, you know, having to get into trouble, borrow or debt or whatever. Or, you know, we also can get people who just don't know where to go, you know, and so we try to manage that, and we don't tell them what to do, but we try to encourage them to think about what are the best approaches to take. Sometimes that can be to say to somebody, you know what, I can't have you in my life. You know, that is a valid response for a family member if their life is being destroyed. But we explore the avenues that are open to them and encourage them to make their own decisions and their own choices around that. But so, there's lots of people who attend that group who have lived experience of supporting others in recovery. And that's, again, it's that lived experience thing. That's what's vital.
So I think it's important at this point to say, if you are worried about someone or yourself, if you've got the slightest feeling that something's not quite right, seek advice.
Absolutely.
And they can find that with you guys.
We're happy to, you know, answer phone calls. If it's just, you know, if you don't want to come in face to face, we can talk to you on the phone, encourage you. We can signpost you. If it's just mutual aid organisations you want the details of, we can give you that. If you wanted to come in and, you know, discuss, if you have a family member who doesn't want to come into treatment because often they're resistant to it, but you still want some support, you could still come to Butterflies, our group, on a Wednesday. The group is for you rather than the service, you know, the potential service user. But absolutely, you can look at the Change, Grow, Live website. You know, and you can type in the details for Peterborough if you're a Peterborough resident. Change, Grow, Live also have the drug and alcohol service in Cambridgeshire now. So Huntingdon and Cambridge and Wisbech. Also in Norfolk, Change, Grow, Live have the drug and alcohol service there. So there's lots of local services within this area.
Yeah, you've got 4 locations here, haven't you, in Peterborough?
3. Yeah.
Sorry.
We currently have a site at Central on Bridge Street, and then we have a service in Bretton and a certain service in Orton. They're part-time services, but, you know, hopefully the aim is to reach people in wider parts of the community.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Neil.
You're welcome.
You know, we've covered everything I wanted to, and people know where to come now if they need to find help for someone they love, someone they care about, or even for themselves. Remember, if you missed any of today's show or simply want to listen or watch again, you can catch up on the Salam Radio Facebook or the YouTube channel. Thanks for listening. Assalamu alaikum, and see you next time.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
The masjid is a center of spirituality, education, and a social hub for the community. In the times of the Blessed Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, the masjid lay at the heart of society and was not just a place of sanctuary and prayer, but also a thriving educational institution. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is reported to have said, "Whoever builds a masjid for Allah, be it large or small, Allah will build for him a house in paradise." Sunnah al-Tirmidhi. The role of the masjid has always been instrumental in the educational, social and moral uplifting of the Muslim community. Please donate by visiting childrenofadam.net or call us on 0300